Men who have sold/donated SP**RM and gave permission for the child to contact you at 18, what is your story? Totally not an answer, but my GF and I were just wondering about whether there were any protocols for how much of one donor's sperm is allowed to be distributed within a given area. Like, what could prevent two moms from having the donor's offspring in the same area and having those kids grow up and meet as teens/adults, start a relationship and realize they're related? Some clinics will put a cap on number of families, but there are man cases of people have dozens, even up to 40, 80, 100 half-siblings. It brings up the ethics around this, and many donor-conceived people are vehemently against this and believe there needs to be a limit in place. So, I'm not the dad, but a kid. So my bio dad donated sperm and gave permission to be identified. Didn't even have to be after 18. In counting, because we're not sure if we've found all of us yet, there are 53 half-siblings, all his kids. My full sister and I didn't know we were donor babies until I was a freshman in college, and her a junior in high school. It was a few more years before we found out the scope of our family. As such, I never got to meet the man as he passed away in 2018, but I've been getting to know my half-siblings and I'm sad to have missed him. He apparently engaged in annual reunions and was interested in getting to know all of the kids if they, and their families, were open to it. We all support each other basically by default even though we didn't grow up together. What's even wilder about him is that he got national news coverage for something besides his giant flock of kids. The guy got married to a woman the day he met her as a competition to be his bride in the Mall of America. It was apparently a heartfelt story and the two of them had a 20-something-year marriage with 4 kids that they raised themselves. The Mall of America even has a plaque with his name on it now, so you can go find him if you really try. The man was a weirdo, but in the best way. He was kind and generous with his time and really seemed to care about all of his kids, or at least the ones he knew about. This is bananas to me, but not because of the number of children. But because my mom was co-workers with your bio dad's wife. My mom shared that exact MOA story to me, and it inspired The Bachelor. He was diagnosed with cancer at the time and that's when my mom shared their amazing story. Never knew this part about him though. Oh hey, I can answer this. I'm not a donor, but I was donor conceived, along with my sister, same donor. I had a great dad and never had any desire to find out who my donor was, but I was always curious about siblings, especially when I learned there's no legal limit on how many children you can father when you donate sperm in the US. Well, 123andme test later, and the first result on the top of the list is a half-sister in Texas. We get in contact, realize we have a ton in common, and it sparked a fire in her to find more siblings. She took an ancestry DNA test and the top of that list was a man in California, listed as father. She got in touch with him right away, turns out he's a fantastic guy. He was adopted himself and also got in contact with his birth mom as an adult, so he had been on our side of the situation and was very open and willing to talk. His wife has been super supportive of us meeting too. He has 3, organically made kids of his own. I was especially ecstatic to learn that I'm a big sister, plus we've since found 3 more half-siblings who've all been very cool and excited to find each other. At this point, I've met all but one of them in person, and I got to meet my biological grandmother too. TLDR, I went from having a dad and 1 sibling to having 2 dads and 8 siblings over the span of a couple of years. It's been pretty cool. Smiley face, that's super neat. I did a bunch of egg donations. I'm waiting to see one pop up on 23andme, however the oldest would only be around 9 so I doubt I'll see anything for years, if ever. I donated for 6 months in university. Twice a week. I gave consent to be contacted. That was close to 20 years ago now. I did call and ask once, my sperm resulted in 24 successful pregnancies. That was all the office could tell me. I have not done 23andme or anything like that. Edit, added a missing word. My aunts had to get a donor for both children, and he happened to live in the same neighborhood, can't remember if that was a coincidence or not. But he is a close family friend now. He comes over for their birthdays and other family events. They don't refer to him as their dad really, only as a joke, but he is very close with our family. My younger bro donated multiple times unbeknownst to me. Years later my wife and I did Ancestry.com to get an idea of how diverse our backgrounds were and wham! Started getting contacted by lots of people, over a dozen, saying we were close relatives. At first I was confused and asked the early ones about their parentage, they all had a similar stories. Single mom went to a sperm bank. Didn't take long to guess what happened. Call my brothers and asked. Younger one fessed up and said yes, he went multiple times. In fact they told him he had to stop donating because there was a statistical probability his progeny could meet and date, at least they seemed ethical. I asked if it was okay if I gave them his contact, he was fine with it. The weird thing is that they all had his face, like one look at them and it was obvious who their father was. Anyway, this went on for a couple of years and they all connected with each other. Seems there is over 20 now, probably more. He has met a couple of them but it was all casual. The whole thing is super weird to the rest of family to have all these close relatives who somehow are part of the family but then again not really. I was donor conceived. I took a DNA test, his natural-born daughter took a DNA test. So really neither of us gave permission. There are 28 siblings so far. It was quite a shock. I wasn't expecting it and didn't know. I was 38. I've met the donor and most of the half-siblings. He's a cool guy. I think it is eerie how I see many of my mannerisms in him and the other siblings. I know there is a wide range of emotions for people who experience this sort of thing, but for me it was generally positive.